Hello, my name is Carina, and in this podcast, Break Fear, Find Freedom, I have conversations with people just like you who have broken their fear and found their freedom, whatever that may be. And shows you how to do the same. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or your running shoes, whatever makes you happy, and let the fun begin. Oh, by the way, come take my hand and let's go. The door's opening now. Hello, everybody. It's Carina again. First of all, happy Thanksgiving. It's a beautiful day today. And I'm very, very thankful to have the awesome Dino with me again today. And we are going to have a great conversation, as we always do. Hello, Dino. How are you doing?
How are you? Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Dino. So happy Thanksgiving to you too. I'm great. It's a beautiful day. We're having a conversation. What more do I want? Tell me, how's your week been?
My week has been interesting, but enlightening, and as it goes along. I mean, when we talked last week, I told you that I was kind of like having this little freak out for no apparent reason. And, I've got this anxiety, tremendous anxiety. And, again, through all of this, even somebody strong-willed like I think I am, it just gets everybody. And I think everybody suffers from anxiety from one, time or another. But for me, it was just very, very severe. And it was almost like it makes you lethargic. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to do a task. It'll take you an hour to decide whether you get up and take a shower or not. These are things that don't happen to me. I love the morning. I love sunrises. I love everything about it. Always have. And for me to dread the morning is just, it's not a good sign. So when we were on last week, I was, opening up and telling you about how I was feeling, and I didn't know why. And that they had me on these medications that just kind of put me in a coma, where I'm not really smiling, but I'm trying to smile. And it was just very strange. So what I did is I booked a counseling session, and I booked a psychiatrist.
Nice.
Of course, the psychiatrist was on Zoom. Well, we haven't opened up for face-to-face meetings yet. Okay, so, but Zoom, okay. But it was really, really enlightening because I got to explain a lot of things to her. Obviously, she's trained to listen.
Yes.
And it's like a lot of interesting things come out of it. The good part is she thinks that this is temporary. She doesn't think that this is long-term, although, like I told you before, I'm totally prepared to, if this was a forever kind of thing, that's fine with me. I'm not embarrassed about it. But it was eye-opening because it all stems with my relationship with my dad, believe it or not. All my life, I have been trying to prove myself to my father.
Yes.
Not necessarily, subconsciously, because after a while, it just becomes habit. It's like, I'll prove you wrong. Now, I think a lot of kids want to prove their parents wrong too. So I'm not anything special, but I take things to the extreme. Okay.
Right.
So when somebody says that, you're nothing without a diploma, you're nothing without an education, it's time for me to prove somebody wrong.
Yes.
And so if you notice in my book, there is no box. Okay. I wrote snippets of my life. It's a great story of my life. Somebody told me that it was like a wiki version of a full-blown story. So it's a quick read.
Yes,
but in it, I talk about being, taking chances and going into situations that I have no knowledge of anything. I act like an expert, but not really. And I would always learn by doing. I would master my craft. I would see a need in the market. I'd capitalize on it and I'd pounce on it. And then
Nice.
I'd make something happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, there's circumstances, there's companies I work for that went bankrupt. There's companies I work for that committed fraud that when I found out I left. There are companies, that kind of stuff.
Yes. Yes.
But I never blamed the company. I never blamed the company. I just said, well, you did it once, you could do it again. Just like that matter of factly. So when my father got sick, he got leukemia. And so when I flew him out from his house in Florida to San Diego, where I had this huge house, and I got him a treatment that he got approved for, and we brought him there, and he lived with us for about a year. And that was when that was happening. That was like the peak of my business career. I mean, I had everything. I thought I ever wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but through that all, that's when my father actually became human to me. I mean, he was talking to me. He said how proud he was of me. He loved me. Things that like last week when we were talking, Greek fathers, especially Greek school teacher fathers, don't really compliment you too much.
No.
And so even though that he loves you, it's nice to hear it, but he was a different person, obviously. I mean, he knows his life is ending, and he was caring and warm and kind, patient, which is something he was never, and so, but I had all these things going on, and an entourage following me everywhere I went. I mean, my life was not my own, but it was that, you want to talk about synergy. Every second of every day, there was somebody calling me or meeting me or something, and I blocked out some time for my dad. When he passed, it wasn't a shock that he was going to pass. I mean, they did everything that they could, and the doctor said, hey, if you're going to say your goodbyes, say them now. When he passed, it didn't affect me. It didn't hit me, let's say. I was more worried about everybody else. I was more worried about making the funeral arrangements, the accommodations, how many people are going to be on my jet, the scheduling, hotels, food, everything.
Yeah.
And so everybody was
good distraction.
Yeah, but but it wasn't, because I would rather grieve, the way everybody else grieves, and got it out right there. But I didn't, because I had to be the stoic one. I had to be the strong one. I had to take care of the family,
Yes.
And so I mean, it was like people are saying, well, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Maybe like 3-4 months later, it hit me in such a way where I couldn't get out of bed, and I didn't know why. And it was just a weird thing. And when we went to the doctor, he said, you're having a panic attack. Plus, I got news for you. You're a full-blown alcoholic. I'm like, no kidding. Tell me something I don't know. So I didn't take it seriously, because I was heavily abusing drugs and alcohol, obviously to numb out stuff. So he passed in 2017. Okay. From 2017 took a real deep, dark turn all the way to 2020, when I went into rehab myself. Okay. So those 3 years are not only a blur, but they were a waste of time. I mean, I wasn't really working. I mean, the company was going on without me by that time. There were a lot of people, but I literally left the company. I got sick of people. I got sick of all the noise, all the people following me. It's nice to be wealthy, but sometimes you wish you were poor. And, because family doesn't ask a poor person for a job. Family doesn't ask you for money that they never pay back.
Yeah.
You know, people don't chase you for loans and on crazy inventions that you know won't work, but you're just so far gone in your addiction that you either can't say no, you don't feel like saying no, or for some reason you trust that they're going to have a good outcome when they're proven that they're not the ones that should be leading. So I mean, all those things created a lot of animosity for me and a lot of rage. um you know, they say turn the other cheek and, you know, just let it go and all that stuff. But you know what? I'm human, you know, and I do get angry, and I get angry at hypocrisy. I get angry that there are so many people that follow me around asking for handouts, asking for money,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
at my worst. And then, you know, when you tell them the money's run out, there's no more money for you, they're just like, oh, well, you know, where are you now? Where are you now?
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
so it really bothers me. And there was nothing that there was nobody that I wanted to show off more than my dad, because I've been used to doing that for almost 40 years. Look at me, dad, look at me, dad, look at me, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now he's gone. Who am I going to show off to? So these are things that are subconscious. These are things that I didn't knowingly, you know, think about while I was going through. So, you know, I write a book, I'm clean and sober. Um, and then the book is done. Now it's a new world, a new way to market the book. It's all virtual. It's all by computer. There's very little face-to-face interaction. I got rid of all the bozos that were mooching off of me. So
Well,
basically,
that's a good thing.
even though they were bozos and moochers, they were the only friends I had. You know what I mean?
But were they
I never,
really your friends?
well, but you got to look at it this way. My life was business. It was
Yeah.
always business. And
Yeah.
so, you know, in the kinds of businesses that I undertook, um, it's a kind of a 24/7 thing. You hang around people you work with. So you celebrate with people you work with. They are your friends because they're the closest thing to a friend you have.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
But
it's true.
I never had real friends, you know,
Mm.
for those business years. So when you divorce yourself from the business and you divorce yourself from the from all those moochers, you're also divorcing yourself from friends too, or at least the closest thing to friends that I thought I had, right? So there's isolation, there's a new world, there's the uncertainty of doing a book, which I've never done before, using Zoom, which I've never done before, you know, all this social gadgets and, oh, you're supposed to tag, you're supposed to like, you're supposed to share, you're supposed to forward. I don't know. You know, I guess I could do it, but it's kind of like, to me, boring. I mean, is this really necessary? Just pick up the phone and call me. You know what I mean? So I mean, all those things kind of like started festering again. You know, when they say triggers, and I don't think you have to be an addict or an alcoholic to have triggers. And so I think that this anxiety and depression can hit a lot of people anytime, especially around the holidays. So,
Yes.
I mean, think
Yes.
about this now. It's
Yes.
Thanksgiving today. 2 weeks ago, I knew that I was approaching Thanksgiving. There was a lot of pressure on me because I just crossed the 500 day sober hurdle, the milestone, and realizing that, wow, 500 days isn't anything. I mean, it's not enough, you know, but you start feeling more sluggish. You start feeling different. You don't know what's wrong, but you know something's changing. And then all of a sudden, my ex-brother-in-law decided to move. I mean, I had brought him, well, and my wife's whole family. I encouraged them to come to Boise. They were in the Midwest, to live out here with us. I figured, you know, there's family, there's company, keeps my wife occupied, keeps me occupied.
Yeah.
Actually,
Nice.
that's not true. Keeps people from bugging me so I could just work. I mean, that's more like it. But you know, when they came out here, they also saw the worst of times, you know, when we were abusing drugs and alcohol, and we were getting on each other's throats, and we were, screaming and yelling at each other. And, I had a gun collection. Now, I'm not a hunter. I just think they're cool. And in the great state of Idaho, you could shoot them, pretty much anywhere that's, safe, kind of, they call it BLM land, which is public land,
Okay.
so it's not, uncommon for people to just go out and shoot. And I just thought it was cool. Now, I was a little impulsive and a little excessive. So, I probably had like 13 guns, but so what? But one day I was out of town, and my brother-in-law came to visit my wife, and he's like, "Hey, is this where the guns are?" She's like, "Yeah, why don't you keep them for a while, because the way we are, we're probably going to shoot each other." Now, she didn't mean that seriously, but, she says, "But you got to give them back. We're going through a divorce, and you got to give them back." Well, he took them. Then I got divorced, went to my, through my addiction and my recovery process. And when I came out, no guns. I asked for the guns. He's like, "Oh, your wife said that I can have them." This is $20,000 worth of guns.
Wow.
And honestly, it's a lot of money. It's not the money. It's the fact that you're stealing them, And so when I tried very nicely to get him back. I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to call the police and that kind of stuff. I just figured, it's the right thing to do. I mean, there are morals, there's standards, there's honor, there's, and he doesn't possess any of that. So after all the stuff I did to help him, after the help I did for him, with his career and also with his housing, they forget about all that. And they just figure, well, these are my guns now and you can't have them. So when he moved, which was recently, he moved to another state, he took the guns with him.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't think that would bother me. Again, it's not the guns, it's not the money, it's the principle, it's the hypocrisy. I mean, here they are, this supposed very religious family that believes in right and good and all that stuff. And everybody around my wife's family, all of them know that these are stolen, but they don't want to get in the middle of it because they don't want to damage the relationship they have with their son. So I'm like, wait a minute, I bought you a house. Okay. I helped them out. I helped everybody out. And you don't want to get in the middle of something because you don't want to lose your relationship with your son. But you're supporting the fact that he's a thief. The bottom line.
Yeah.
Now this still bothers me, but and I don't know anybody who it wouldn't bother. I mean, come on, all the things that happened that I described to you, plus this gun thing was kind of like the icing on the cake. I don't know. So somewhere along, between them leaving and me going to the to go to see a doctor, I snapped. I had like a mini mental breakdown, I think. And so I'm starting to understand. I mean, these are just surface things, but I'm starting to understand that stress manifests itself in so many weird ways. So I'm not necessarily an alcoholic when I'm feeling like this, because initially when I was feeling this, I'm like, why do I have an urge again to have a drink? Well, it wasn't necessarily the drink. It was my brain telling me that, hey, when you feel like this bottle makes it all stop. That's what it's telling me.
Yes, right.
And you'd be surprised how many people listen to that urge and go for it. I didn't. I was more afraid, like, oh my God, I'm doing a show every week with Carina. I'm doing all these other shows. And one day I'm going to show up drunk. I mean, that's not cool either. So, I went and got myself checked out. I will tell you that I didn't think this. I just think that a lot of times people think, well, it'll work itself out. I don't need anybody. I will tell you that if you start feeling like even close to how I started feeling, go go to counseling, and go seek some help, because it really is something that has really helped me. They also changed my meds, which she said these are temporary, these are a band-aid. So they echoed what we talked about too.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and believe it or not, you're not supposed to take them in the day. You're supposed to take them at night.
Oh.
So that was another thing. I was taking them during the day and I'm like, why am I so tired? Because, well, they make you tired. That's why. But, and then pushing myself out of my comfort zone, getting up early, even though I don't want to, running that shower, even though I don't want to, and all the simple things that people take for granted. Life is really weird. And I imagine that during the holidays, it gets to a lot of people for different reasons. Now, I just explained a family dynamic that bothered me,
Yes,
and what do
yes.
holidays do? Holidays are supposed to be, they bring the family together. Can you imagine us at the Thanksgiving dinner table? I mean, it wouldn't be good,
Oh, I can see a picture of that, and it would make a beautiful story, actually.
Yeah, it would probably, yeah. I don't
Where
even want
you'd
to think.
have all the dynamics of you and your wife and your brother-in-law, just the stories you're talking about now. And right in the middle of next to the big turkey, would be the guns. And then the lights go off, right?
Yeah, the turkey did it. Yeah.
And then you don't know what happens. Well, you can
No.
you can decide whatever happens.
No. Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
right.
I'm not trying to make this a joke, and I'm not trying to make less of how you're feeling. It's just, I'm a writer, okay, so I see these things. And I'm just wondering how I can understand how you're feeling about the guns. I have to go back to the guns because it's like quite a, I can understand how you're feeling, especially after all you've done. And a lot of times you do things for people and they cannot appreciate it because they don't know how, I guess, so we're talking about Thanksgiving today, so it would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Why do you think, because the guns, okay, the value, it's guns, they're valuable. But at the end of the day, it's just stuff, right?
Right.
Why do you think that it's affecting you so much? Is it because because of everything that you've done for them? Is it because you're still in love with your wife and you don't want, and you wished you still had that dynamic? And you don't have to answer any of these questions. It's just a thought. You still had that family that connected, because that's what you want right now. You're alone. You want to be with family. So are you maybe on some level upset because he's ripped those guns out of your heart, really, but he's also ripped the family, even though you're divorced? Don't know if that even makes sense.
No, it does make sense. Look, the family came as a package deal with the wife. Okay. They weren't my first pick for a family. I'm sorry. And they're just very, very different, okay, from me. And not only can they get on my nerves, but they certainly can work on my wife. And, imagine the mental anguish and abuse that she went through so many years, always again trying to prove herself to a family that preaches righteousness and preaches the Bible and preaches all this stuff, but it's kind of contrary to what they're preaching. They're doing stuff completely different. Let's just put it that way.
They're not actually living what they're talking about. So they're not
exactly, which hypocrisy for me is like the number one trigger in the world. It's just like, if you're going to be a certain way, just tell me. I can accept pretty much anything. But if you're going to be a hypocrite and you're going to lie and have two faces, for some reason that bothers me. And the reason it bothers me is because throughout my entire life, I've given out of my heart. I've done some things for homeless. I've done some things for people that are down and out that I didn't publicize. I didn't have to call up a PR person and say, hey, I just tipped the waitress $1,000. Write about me. Look at me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did these
Yeah.
things because out of kindness and out of love, because I've been there. I've been broke. I know what it feels like. And I don't need to talk about those. But there's other things that I did out of kindness to my friends and to my family that when they look at it like, oh, well, he's rich, he can afford it. And a lot of people think that, right? And even though that may be true, it's not your money.
Exactly.
But
Yes.
they're not looking at it in the way that I was doing it. The way I was doing it was simply out of love.
Yes.
Now, I
Yes.
got a Greek background. We're loving, we're, caring people. That's the way the family is. The family's purpose is to work and create wealth and property to pass along to their children. It's never for selfish intent. I'm sure
Yes.
Italians are like that too.
Yes. Yes.
And so, when I did these things, I did them out of love.
Yes.
And it's just amazing to me how they'll take my kindness and forget about it. And I don't know if I'm supposed to wait for the pat on the back. I never did before, but this is a different time. 40 years I've been preoccupied with everything business, everything to keep my mind off of things and chase dreams, and that adrenaline that's just almost like a lot of rock stars say that it's the greatest drug ever to sit in front of an audience on a stage, and have thousands of people cheering for you.
Yes.
That's kind of how I felt for 40 years. All of a sudden, fast forward, you get COVID, I get sober, and boom, I'm locked down. Now I'm like, okay, I want to try something new, but I'm afraid of people. In some sense, I'm afraid to be kind to people because sober is different. I don't know if I could take the abuse that I was able to handle when I was on drugs or alcohol.
Yeah.
This is weird. Yeah. I'm defending drugs and alcohol, but at the time, it did a lot to insulate a lot of those devastating feelings that sober, I don't know if I'd be able to handle them, and obviously, these are still fresh wounds. These are things that are going on now that, I just feel like people took advantage of me. And I feel that, when I was at my lowest point, they came as a friend, but they always wanted something, or they took pleasure in my weakness. It's just very, very strange. And those feelings, that anger, has started to manifest itself because, if a guy's sitting having nothing to do, you're going to dwell on your thoughts. And all it took was that gun stuff, the brother-in-law moving, to just kind of trigger in my head that, hey, this isn't right. And it felt bad then. And look at all these other things that felt bad. So I'm starting to let it out by talking to a counselor. And, it's you just don't know what a trigger will be, I guess, until it happens. You can say that, well, I'll avoid triggers, but you really don't know what it is.
But you also don't want to avoid the triggers. You want to learn from them, right? And I'm just thinking now, what kind of blessing can come out of your brother-in-law taking these guns? I mean, for me, I don't like guns. Okay, so I don't understand the concept of this whole thing about guns. But I don't think it's about the guns. It's about what he did. We've understood that. But maybe in some way he did save you, because maybe at that point you could have taken the guns and shot each other, and who knows what could have happened, because drugs and alcohol can do weird things to you. So maybe you need to look at it from that point of view and see how it's a blessing and change it around, right? So if you can see how this situation is a blessing, then you can forgive him and you can move on and you can feel better about the situation, about him, about everything.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it took that incident to bring light onto this. It's not just the guns. It's just historically all the
Yes,
people
yes,
that have taken advantage, and mostly it's my father's passing, and now I got nobody to show off to. Then now
yes,
I'm on my own. I'm solo, and now who do I have to impress? I don't have to impress anybody. But for 40 years, that was my motivating factor. Is
exactly.
impress, right?
Yes, yes,
You know, the money was great, the success was thrilling, but at the, you know, the bottom line is being able to drive into a family function, having the nicest car, wearing the nicest clothes, the nicest jewelry. These are all superficial things, but this is what drove me for such a long time. And now that's gone. Now
but
I'm
that's
like, here I am, you know, and on the most basic level, that's really what it comes down to. That's what it
yes,
comes down to. So, newsflash though, the psychiatrist did tell me that isolation is not a good thing for me,
no,
especially me, but isolation is not good for anybody. She said that never mind the children, that she said, because they missed in some places a year and a half of school, and they've been kind of isolated and they have the masks and everything, that it has affected them immeasurably. She said that there are so many kids now that are going to therapy. There's waiting lines for therapy, and it's just the beginning, she said.
yeah,
But she also said that there's a higher rate of suicides now,
yes,
not just during the holidays, but just in general,
mm, mm.
especially with vets. Now, you know, think about this. Think about think about being locked down during COVID with somebody that you argue with.
I know it must be the worst, right? And you're
Yeah,
forced together.
you know what I mean? I mean, can you imagine that? You can't leave because you guys are arguing, but you know, you're stuck together. So, you know, if there was somebody who was abusing drugs and the other wasn't, chances are that they're both abusing drugs. Just so much bad can come out of this, which is happening.
Yeah,
And I was just
yeah,
kind of amazed at how she was explaining it. She's just like, this is just the beginning. This mental health crisis is what
yes,
she called it,
yes,
could go on for years. So what she mentioned is, she said that good for me for understanding that I'm not feeling right and acting on it,
mm,
because there's
mm.
so many other people that are just like, well, it'll pass, you know, but it could get worse, you know, as time goes on. I recognized that there was something wrong with me. I checked myself into the ER. I mean, you know, the doctor won't see me. There's a waiting time for that. Screw that. I'm going to the ER. At least there was some type of doctor. There was medication. There was treatment. I felt safe.
Mm,
I felt
mm.
safe, you know, psychologically. And then as soon as they recommended, you know, therapy, you know, I called right away so I can get in. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
and not just once, several times,
mm.
just to get in, because there's such a waiting list. And already there's a huge difference. So I will say that anybody, you know, holidays or not, that's feeling kind of out of sorts, feeling a little, you know, overwhelmed, you know, most of those feelings pass. But when you start feeling, you know, tremors and shivers and, you know, kind of like heart palpitations and stuff like that, don't wait, you know, go talk to a therapist, talk to somebody. It'll do a lot of good.
Yeah. And it's not an embarrassment to reach out to someone and say, you know what, I'm not feeling well, because I think still mental health is like such an embarrassment. It's like, oh, it's such a bad thing. Society says it's a bad thing to feel bad. It's a bad thing to ask for help, and it really isn't. So
Yeah.
if you can step up and say, you know what, I need help, and even reach out 911 or whatever, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, you're proof of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, and thankfully, because I grew up, when they called people crazy,
Yes.
okay, and
Yes.
they called them, mental hospitals, and they talked about shock therapy and all that stuff. And if you were a little different, if you were taking lithium as a kid, people made fun of you. I remember this one kid. He was on lithium or Ritalin or something like that. And they're like, "Hey man, you're crazy." And everybody's laughing. That's got to be a horrible thing for somebody to endure. I mean, there's total shame. Now it's kind of opened up where it's just like, you know what? If you think I have problems, ask a lot of people, in an independent kind of like blind thing where you're anonymous. I guarantee you that the numbers are staggering, that everybody at one time or another suffers from some type of traumatic situation, anxiety, depression, or both. They dismiss it, but it comes in very strange ways. Me not grieving when my dad passed,
that's huge,
is huge, because imagine all of that stuff that I could have let out by, at the time, seeing a counselor, even though I didn't think I needed to. Imagine all that baggage that would have been just immediately dropped right there. There's a lot of stuff that could have been different, but instead it just festered in me and festered, and it just waits for the right time. It waits for that perfect storm to manifest itself, and then it just comes out in a weird way. You may.
Yeah, but also remember, you were also doing a lot of drugs and alcohol, so you were numb anyway most of the time to even feel those feelings. Yeah,
that's true. Then it was really bad for those last 2-3 years. So I would say that there was a lot of weird stuff going on. But yeah, had I not been abusing, it would have been the perfect time. But it just kind of just shows you that even somebody like me, who's grown up in a very strict family, but also raised in a business world where you never showed your emotions. You never got excited. You never got sad. You never had pictures of your family on your desk. I mean, I was like a sales machine. So I was trained not to cry, not to show emotion, not to, and that stuff you think is just little things, but it carries on with you. So people look at you, they think you're Superman on the outside, because everything you do is successful. You seem like you're having a nice family. You seem like you have everything you want in the world. And deep down inside, I'm just as soft as everybody else. It's just they don't know it. So when you come out and announce, "Hey, I'm going to counseling," people are like, "What's?" But it's I'm human, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And that took a while for me to come to grips with. So this was really a cool week, Carina, because I told you last week that it's not a cool thing that I'm going through, but I am getting better, and I will get over this.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced that I will get over this. I mean, I'm getting better. I'm understanding a completely different part of my mind. And understanding it is half the battle right there,
So it's actually exciting stuff. So
yeah.
Considering now it's Thanksgiving, right? What are you most thankful about right now, or what most grateful about right now as you're sitting and you're speaking to me at this moment?
I'd say second chances, but this is probably my 9th life. So, but however you want to look at it, it's being thankful that I have this resilient approach to life, that I'm able to just kind of just get up again and start enjoying life for what it is. Makes you think. Throughout my whole life, there are different things that were important to me.
Yes.
Money for a very long time, that was the most important thing, and whatever. That's not important anymore. It's being a life that's fulfilled. It's making amends. It's being with family. It's being with friends. It's reaching out. One of the problems with depression or anxiety is you tend to isolate yourself even more. You don't like crowds. You don't like people. You don't like light. You don't like. I mean, there's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And so, but I know that those the very things that I'm kind of freaking out about right now are exactly the things that I need to jump into. It's what I fear most.
Yes.
So, next week I'm flying to the East Coast to see my family.
That's
And
exciting. That's going to be exciting.
And I'm going to be there I haven't seen them since my dad died.
Wow.
Yeah. On purpose too. I didn't want anything to remind me of anything. I mean, just your mind just goes through weird things.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get on a plane. The doctor gave me a pill. She goes, when you get on a plane, take this pill. You'll sleep through the whole thing. I'm like, okay, that's perfect. Yeah, for right now, I need that. But I want to reconnect. I want to see if that's a possible place where I'd like to live, and start fresh, and new opportunities. I have the foundation that I was telling you about last week. That want to work with me. They're actually flying out to where I am on the East Coast to meet me.
Wow, that will be exciting.
Yeah, it will be. So I mean, it's just fresh starts is, I guess, what I'm grateful for.
I love that.
Right.
Now, just remember that you're going back to your life with your family. You're going back into a past. So your family don't know Dino as he is now, right? They know Dino of the past.
Well, they all read my book.
But once you get into the family dynamics in that situation don't really change much. So it will be interesting to see how you cope with that, and it will be interesting and you'll need to be very strong, because there'll be a lot of triggers there.
Well, what I have to do is immediately set boundaries. You know what I mean? Which is a great thing.
That's a great thing. Yes.
It's just like if somebody starts talking about the past and whatever, I have every right to say, hey, you know what? I don't really want to talk about the past.
Yes.
And that's it. And that's it.
Yes.
See, that's the advantage. That's the advantage of being diagnosed with an anxiety, is you can pull the anxiety card on them. Hey, you better stop.
You don't know what I can do when I go into anxiety.
Hey, remember. So it's nice to make fun of yourself. I think it's healthy, but
yes, very healthy.
I already thought about that. Now, I'm not going there to live next door to somebody. I mean, come on, but there's got to be a little bit of a buffer. You got to be able to stick and move, is what I call it.
Yes.
You stay there for the interaction, and obviously it's a chemical reaction. It's when when people say you have to go out in the sunlight at least 10 minutes a day, and that creates the vitamin D and the all that stuff in your body. That's true. But what they don't tell you is interaction with humans is the same kind of chemical reaction. I don't know what kind of vitamins you get from it, but it helps your brain.
Of course, yes.
You always have to interact and connect with people. So I think that in those cases it'll be positive. Mm-hmm. And I already thought about the negatives, the pop-ins, the hey, are you up? Hey, I was just here. That kind of stuff. You got to have a little bit of a buffer, and you got to set the ground rules too.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I mean, how nice would it be to, get up every morning and be able to interact with people and interact with family when you want to? People take that for granted. Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of Thanksgivings where I dreaded going and having a gathering together. Now I miss it. I miss it.
Yes.
So, be careful what you wish for. Look, things always evolve. they always evolve, and you're constantly reinventing yourself, whether you know it or not. And this is just one of those phases of my life that I have to go through. I have to go through
Mhm.
because
But it's an exciting phase if you look at it that way, because you're going through this phase, and as you're getting, synchronicities, things are coming into your life, like the foundation and the podcast or whatever it is, and you're growing, and you don't know you're going to become like this awesome person. I mean, you're already an awesome person, right? But
I have my
now
card. It says awesome. I do.
exactly. But you're going to be awesome, like within yourself, and showing who you really are without the masking of the drugs and the alcohol,
Yeah,
numbing you.
I,
So
I'm
it's
evolving.
actually a great
I'm
thing.
evolving, and the more I'm evolving in this particular phase, I know that what I go through are lessons learned, not only for me, but also for others.
Yes,
I
yes,
really believe that somewhere along the line, you're going to see me as some kind of public speaker that's going to be helping millions. I just don't, I haven't seen the full bridge yet, but it's not a business thing anymore. It's not about how much money I can make. It's about being fulfilled and recharged every day,
yes,
doing something that has purpose, that has meaning, is like recharging a battery. When you do it, you feel fulfilled, right?
yes,
If
yes,
you're not
yes,
doing it, if you're wasting your talent, if you're isolated, if you're frightened and all that stuff, you're not charging your battery.
yes,
And so that's when all the bad stuff happens.
yes,
um,
yes,
for me, inactivity is not a good thing. I have to constantly be moving. And that's only because I've been constantly moving for 40 years. I mean, try and teach an old dog new tricks. It's pretty hard to do. I can't just sit the rest of my life and just, sit like this and just talk, an hour a day, and that's it. I have to get out there and I have to move. I have to stimulate people. And in turn, they stimulate me.
yeah. I
So
love that.
yeah, so this holiday is going to be different. I mean, Thanksgiving, I needed to have the counseling and the medication kind of adjust and whatever. And for right now, it's working. I didn't
Good,
want to
good.
do anything crazy, but next week I'm flying. Christmas, I fully expect to be with family and in the holidays. And so I'm going to push myself out of the comfort zone because I know what I'm lacking. I'm
Yes,
becoming
yes,
aware of what I need. It's my own therapy. It's like, wow, you're feeling like this because you're not interacting with people
I love
anymore.
it. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know and so that's why I keep telling you, like, I don't like this world. It's very impersonal, it's very efficient. It saves a lot of time. Instead of me doing a show where I fly to see you every week, we're doing this through the magic of computers. But what are
mm.
we missing? Not meeting face to face. That for me is just incredible fuel,
Yes,
that
yes,
we don't have anymore.
yes.
And so this to me is not the world that I'm used to, but I have to embrace the good parts of it and just figure a way around the stuff that's bothering me about it.
I love that. So it's got, again, I mean, we stray from fear, but I mean, I think it's been the underlying theme, this whole conversation today.
Yeah.
It's a lot about what you're doing right now, is you're facing so many fears and you're just moving forward and moving through them. So it takes a lot of courage. So well done.
Thank you. Well, that's the story of my life. I mean, I've never been afraid of a business challenge. I've never been afraid of jumping into an opportunity. Why should this be any different?
Yes,
You know,
yes,
why should life be any different than business? It should be the same thing. I'm the same person, right? So
mm.
where I'm fearless, doing things at the drop of a hat and not being afraid and exuding confidence, why is this bugging me so much? What's the difference? And so I'm starting to not be afraid of, if you don't know what's going on with you, and you start feeling your heart racing and you start feeling a little pain, and you're starting to sweat and you feel cold and you feel like you're going to pass out, you're afraid. I mean, you don't know. But when they tell you that physically you're perfect, there's nothing wrong with you, then you understand it's in your mind. Now I understand that it's all me. It's all my state of mind. And now I have to, grab a hold of it and change it. How do you change it? By addressing your fears. That's the only way I'm going to get past them. Talking about, my sessions, a lot of people will be like, well, that's personal. I don't care. I mean, if it's helping me talk about them and hopefully it helps somebody else, it's worth it. But these are the things that everybody goes through at one time or another. It doesn't matter. So don't believe the hype when you see all these successful people, wealthy people, famous people, and you're like, oh, well, they got it made, must be nice. Think again, they have every phobia and fear that anybody else does. They're not going to show it when they're doing an interview, just like you're not going to show your worst face when you post something on Instagram. You're going to show your best self. And so once we understand that everybody goes through these things, it kind of makes sense and makes you feel better, because this is a different world. This is not the simple farming life. This isn't like what I remember as a kid in Greece with, my grandfather, having all these vegetables and fruits, and they'd live off the land, and they were very, very modest and simple. But they enjoyed it. They fished, they walked, they did all kinds, but they were always busy. Now it's just like run, and then with the phone, oh, am I relevant? Am I this? Am I that? What am I missing? Who texted me? Who emailed me? I got to return their, message. Who cares? I mean, slow down and just start understanding who you are. Because if you forget who you are, this stuff happens.
Yes. So I think that's a wonderful note to finish this conversation today. Just go out, and especially today, okay, it's Thanksgiving. So, when I was saying to the people that I live with, I was saying, oh, I'm going to have my conversation this morning. She says, what, on Thanksgiving? Yes, on Thanksgiving, so we can share the love, right? And share everybody how Thanksgiving. So I think on this day, we all should sit down, take a walk on the beach if you can. I'm lucky I can, right? Enjoy that cup of coffee, smell some roses and flowers, and enjoy the time with your family. I think you don't appreciate it. I remember, I'm an Italian family, and we also had Christmas and the whole family and cousins, and you'd go like, oh, I want to run away from these people. And now I'm thinking, I actually miss that interaction. Yes. Yeah. But you don't appreciate it at the time.
Everybody goes through that, and it's normal. But don't believe the hype. Face your fears. I'm not a doctor. I'm a businessman. For anybody who thinks that I'm a doctor, I'm not. But thank you for the compliment. But know yourself.
Yes, know yourself. Yes, I love that. So on that philosophical note, know yourself, enjoy yourself, and actually take time and just listen to yourself and give yourself time and space, right? To love yourself slowly, bit by bit, and most of all, appreciate yourself and others. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dino. This was so awesome as usual. Thank you. And we will see you next week again. Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome, awesome Thanksgiving. And we'll see you next week. See ya. Bye.
Thank you for listening. And thank you for listening right to the end. Now, if you want to know more about breaking fear and if it's keeping you stuck, check out the quiz. The details are below. Subscribe so you can hear some more of this delicious conversations. And then watch out for my book, The Clank of Chains, which is coming out very soon. Thank you again for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye.